So in this lesson now, we are going to learn about the law of cosine to find the measures of sides and angles. Now, before starting with the law of cosine, let's remember when we use the law of cosine and when we use the law of sine. Now, if you have two sides and none including angles, I will use the law of sine. And if I have two angles and none included side, I have to use the law of sine. But if you have now two sides and one included angle, here you want to find the side opposite angle, we use the law of cosine. And if you have three sides and we want to find any angle, we also use the law of cosine. So the law of cosines, we use it if we have two sides and one included angle or three sides. So if you have two sides and one included angle, we will use law of cosine. And if you have two sides and none include angle, we will use law of sine. Now let's remember now what are the law of sine and what is the law of sine and what is the law of cosine. In any triangle, the ratio of the sine of each angle to its opposite side is constant. So this is law of sine, such as sine of angle A sine of angle A over A small must be equal to sine of angle B over B small must be equal to sine of angle C over C small. This is law of sine. Now what is the law of cosine? The law of cosine says that A squared, the side of this length, A squared, will be, now here you have B, you have C, and so the angle between them. If you have these three things, or if these three things are given, I can find the length of A. Now how? By using the law of cosine, that's A squared will be B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine the angle A. So here, how can I know it now? Just say that like all the letters must be written. So if I start with A, I must end with A. If I start with B, I must end with the angle of B. And if I start with C, I must end here with C. These are the law of cosines. If I have two sides and the included angle between them, and I want to find the measure of the side opposite of this angle. Or if you have three sides are known and I want to find the measure of any angle, I will use also the law of cosine. Now here, for each triangle, write the correct form of the law of cosine or the law of sine to solve for the measure in red. Here now, in this questions here, you have these triangles, and I want to see that, or to say that, shall I use law of cosine or shall I use law of sine? Number 21 now. You have side A and side C, or the length of side A and C, and the angle between them. And you want to find the length of side B. So which law you have to use? Law of sine or law of cosine?
Cosine.
Law of cosine, bravo.
Law of cosine.
So here, law of cosine. How can we write it now here? We have to say B squared will be A squared plus C squared minus 4AC cosine B. Number 22 now. You have here three sides and you want to find the angle between, or any angle. What do you have to use?
Cosine. Law of
Cosine.
cosine.
It's called law of cosine. So c squared will be a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine c. Number 23. You have now two sides and non-included angle. Which law you have to use?
Law of sine.
Law of sine. That's sine of b over b will be sine of c over c. Right. Number 24. In number 24 here we have side angle. Okay, we have two angles with non-included side.
Sine.
Law of sine. So here, sine of A over A will be sine of B over B. Now number 25, we have two sides with non-included angle. What we have to use?
Sine.
Law of sine. Sine of C over C must be sine of A over A. And the last one, here we have two sides and included angle. Which
Law of cosine.
Law of cosine, bravo. That's A squared will be B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. Okay. Now, let's now see here how can we use the law of cosine to solve a problem. Here now we have a triangle. We know that the length of this side C is 3.5 mile and B is 2.5 mile and the angle between them is 40 degrees. And I want to use how to find A. Here now, we have two sides with an included angle. So let's use the law of cosine. But I want to find A now. So A squared will be B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. Now, A squared is B squared, where's B? It's 2.5 squared plus 3.5 squared minus 2 times 2.5 times 3.5 cosine 40. So now 2.5 squared plus 3.5 squared are 18.5 minus cosine 40 times 2 times 2.5 times 3.5. Here, 13.4 minus 18.5. The answer is 4.1, oh no, 5.1. So A squared here is 5.1. So the square root of 5.1 will be 2.25. So here the measure of the side A is 2.25, which is B. So here, as we see, we have two sides with non-included angle, so we have to use the law of cosine. Is it clear?
Yes. Yeah.
Now here. The length of two sides of a triangle are 8 and 10. And the measure of the angle between them, 40. What is the approximate length of the third angle? So here now we have to use how to find this side here. So two sides with one included angle. So we have to use the law of cosine. Let's name that this is A, this is B, and this is C. So A squared will be B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine theta. BC, I will repeat it here, BC cosine the angle that I start with it, which is A. Then, so A squared will be B squared 64 plus C squared 100 minus 2 times 8 times 10 times cosine 40. Now 164 minus 80, 160 times cosine 40 will be A squared. So also cosine 40 times 160 minus 164. So A squared is 41.4. So A will be the square root of the 41.4. So it will be 6.43 unit. This is here the length of A. Now let's go now to the second case of the law of cosine, that if we have here 3 sides and I want to find any of the angles. Like here, what is the measure of the angle C in a triangle at the right? Here we have 3 sides and I want to find this angle here. And how I know which formula I have to use? And since I want to find angle C, so I have to write here cosine C. So that means if I end with C, I must start with C. So I will say C squared will be A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine C. So here I want to find C, so I will start now. Oh, I mean that I end with angle C, so I have to start now with C. Then C squared, which is 12 squared, will be 5 squared plus 8 squared minus 2 times 5 times 8 times cosine C. So now 140, 5 squared, 25 plus 64, 89, 144 minus 1080 cosine C. Then 144 minus 89 is 55. 55 equals 80 cosine C. So from here now, cosine C will be 55 over 88. So angle C will be cosine inverse of 55 over 88. So C will be 51.3 degrees. So here I will repeat. Here we have cosine, or here we have angle C. I want to find it. So because I end with C, I must start with C. Now here, as you see, since we have to use or to find cosine, so I will subtract 89 from the both sides to get the answer like this. 55 will be 80 cosine C. Then I want to find cosine C only. So it will be 55 over 88. Then angle C will be cosine inverse of this ratio in order to find that the angle C is 51.3. And also, if I want to find angle B as an example, I have to use the same formula, the law of cosine, in order to find now angle B. And then after I have angle. After I find angle C and angle B, I can now find angle A with the summation of the triangle are the angles in the triangle 180. So this is here a way to solve a triangle. Do you have any question?
No, teacher, thank you.
No, teacher, thank you.
No.
Now let's try with this. Got it here. Here we have now 10, 14, 15, and I want to find the length of the angle opposite to the longest side, in this angle. Let's name them now with X, Y, and Z. Now, I want to find now the measure of angle X. So I will let's name them with ABC in order to have the same formulas. So let's say that here we have A, B, or B, and C. Now, I want to find the angle of B. So I will end with cosine B. And since I end with cosine B, I must start here with B. If I wrote B, what are the remaining letters? A and C. A and C. Minus 2. A and C. Cosine B. Then now, where is B? B is 15. A is 14. And C is 10. Minus 2 times 14 times 10 times cosine the angle between them. Then now, 15 squared minus 14 squared minus 10 squared . 296 minus 15 squared, 71. So right here it will be negative 71 is negative 28 times 10, 280 cosine B. Then now here cosine B will be 71 over 280. So what's the angle of B will be? What I have to do here? Cosine inverse of 71 over 280. So B will be 75.3 degrees.
Teacher,
Yes.
why it is negative?
Why it's what?
Why it's negative?
Here, because 14 squared plus 10 squared is 296. And 15 squared is 225. So when you subtract them, you get negative. And the previous one, which must be negative. But I didn't throw the negative sign.
Oh, okay.
Do you have any question?
No, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Now here sometimes you need to use the law of cosine by law, then and you have to solve the question by 2 steps. Law of cosine, or sometimes law of cosine, then law of sine in order to solve the triangle. Let's see here. In the triangle ABC, if you know that B small is 6.2, and the measure of C, the angle that's opposite to angle C is 7.8. The measure of angle A is 45. Okay, but what did they ask me now? They asked me about the measure of angle B. They ask me about this angle here. Okay, the law of cosine, if I use it, yeah, I have two sides and opposite angles, so I can use the measure of the length of side A. But I don't want the measure of side A, I want the measure of angle B. So if I want now to find the measure of angle B, I cannot use the law of cosine. Or no, that you can use it here. Sorry, you have two sides. Yeah, and since now you have the three sides, you can use then, and I mean, like if you have as an example this one, you know it as 4. And if you have now two sides of the measure of three sides and you want to find any of the angles, you have to use the law of cosine. So now if I want now to use the law of cosine here, I need the measure of angle of the length of side A. So if I want to use B squared, which is A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine B. So now cosine B, I want to find it. Minus 2. Now A is unknown, C is known, which is 7.8. So I need now to find A. In order to find A, I have to use the law of cosine. So if I want to use now the law of cosine in order to find A here, I will say A squared will be B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. Then A squared is unknown. B squared 6.2 and C squared 7.8 minus 2 times 6.2 times 7.8 cosine angle A, which is 45. Then here, let's find the answer. 6.2 squared plus 7.8 squared minus 2 times 6.2 times 7.8 times cosine 45. I will find that A squared is 30.9. So A will be 5.5 or 5.6 degree unit. So here I will repeat. I want to find now the measure of angle B. But if I want to find the measure of angle B, I need angle, or I need side. Just a second, please. So if I want now to find the measure of angle B, I need these two sides, side A and 7.8. And then I want to find any angle, so I need the three sides. If I know B and I know C, but I don't know A, I will use the law of cosine next to find A. After I found A now here as 5.6 unit, I will go again and I will use the law of cosine in order to find the measure of angle B. So I will say here B squared, which is 6.2 squared, will be A squared, which is 5.6 squared, plus C squared, which is 7.8 squared. Just a second, please, here. So 7.8 squared minus 2 times 5.6 times 7.8 cosine B. So here we found the three sides. We can find cosine of B. So 6.2 squared is 38.44. 5.6 squared plus 7.8 squared is 92.2 minus 2 or 5.6 times 7.8 times 2. We have it as 87.36 cosine B. So now if you subtract 38.44 minus 92.2, you get negative 53.76. Is negative 87.36 cosine B. Then cosine B will be 53.76 over 87.36. So B will be cosine inverse of this ratio. Then cosine inverse of 53.76 over 87.36. So B will be 52 degrees. This is a way here how to find the measure of angle B. Is it clear?
Yeah, but it's a little bit too long.
Yeah.
Sorry, Susan?
No, I understood it. It's just a bit too long, but there's no other way.
Because you have to find another thing. Yeah, you have to use the law of cosines 2 times. Sometimes now we can use the law of sine and the law of cosine and law of sine in the same triangle to solve it. Let's find this question here. Here now in the triangle RST, S small is 41, T small is 53, and the measure of angle R is 126 degrees. What is the measure of angle T? Here now, from the given, I have two sides and the included angle, so that means I can use the law of cosine first. If I use the law of cosine, I can find now the measure of this side, of the length of this side. So let's use now the law of cosine. That's R squared. This is R squared. So R squared will be S squared plus T squared minus 2ST. I will repeat the letters. Cosine, the letter that I start with it, which is R. So R squared will be 53 squared plus 41 squared minus 2 times 53 times 41 times cosine 126 degrees. So 53 squared plus 41 squared minus 2 times 53 times 41 times cosine 126. So we will find that R squared will be 7,044. So the square root here now, or the answer will be, so R will be 83.9. So after now, we found that R here is 83.9. Now what did we need to find? We need to find angle T. In angle T here, we can use law of cosine again, but now I want to use the law of sine. So after I solve the triangle here, I will use the law of cosine in order to find the answer. Yalla, how can I use the law of sine here?
It will be sine of the
Of t.
unknown.
Which is,
Yeah.
yeah. Here I want you to find t. So if I want to use the law of sine, sine of t over
53
will be
sine of 126.
bravo.
Over 3.9.
Yeah.
3.9. Yeah. So 53 sine of 126 will be 83.9 sine of t. Then here, let's quickly find the answer. 53 sine 126 over 83.9 0.51, yani sine inverse of the answer. That means the angle T will be approximately 30.7 degrees. So here I use the law of cosine, then the law of sine again. Or I can use the law of cosine again. And you have two ways: law of cosine, then law of cosine, or law of cosine, then law of sine. Is it clear?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you so much. The period has finished. If you have any-
Teacher,
yes. Now the others you can
teacher,
leave the meeting if you don't have any questions. Yes, Rose.
teacher, when they say find the angle of ABC,